What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Let's Slam podcast. I am your host, Baho. So, today, I wanted to talk about my U.S. Army basic training experience. It was such a fun experience, and I would do it all over again if I had the chance. A lot of people ask me, like, why did you join? How did it happen? But the one that I get the most is, what was basic training like? That is the number one question that everyone has, because only 1% of the population really gets to experience basic training. So 1% out of the US population, there's like 300 to 350 million people here. So what is that, like 3 million people, roughly? Yeah, that sounds about right. So only 1% get to have that experience. So how and why I joined. I think I was in high school, and it was my senior year, and I was only 17 at the time, and my parents, they signed me up for driver's ed, and so I had driver's ed class in the summer, and then during the start of the senior year, that's when I actually started to like drive around and stuff with my instructor. And my instructor asks me, "What do you want to be after you graduate?" And I said that I wanted to go into the medical field. So he's like, "Oh, that's cool. Well, if you ever need help like paying for college and stuff, or just get your foot in the door in the medical field, you can always join the Army National Guard." I'm like, okay. So he said to think about it, so I thought about it, and I thought about it really hard. After a few weeks of just really debating, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it. So my friend, he was already in the Wisconsin Army National Guard at the time. So I told him that I was interested in joining, and he's like, "I'm already in. You know that?" I'm like, "What? You are already in the National Guard? How come you didn't tell anybody?" I forgot how the conversation really went. Anyways, so he's like, "Here, I'll take you to my recruiter. We'll get everything done." So I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And I never, I didn't think twice about it. I remember talking to my parents about it, and my dad was pretty chill and said, "You shouldn't join, just go straight to school, we got you." And my mom was so pissed off. She's like, why would you go and serve? Do you want to die?" But, she was just being a good mom, just looking out for me and stuff, and I appreciate it. So I waited until I turned 18, and about 2 weeks after I turned 18, I went to my recruiter with my friend. I did all of my paperwork by myself, because at that time you're 18, so you can legally sign your paperwork. And so we finalized everything, and then I broke the news to my parents, and my dad didn't really yell at me as much as my mom did, but my mom was so pissed. Like, she was livid. And she actually disowned me at that point. So I told my recruiter that my mom basically disowned me. And he says, "Yeah, they all do. Give it a few months and they'll forgive you. And then when you leave, they'll start to miss you. So they'll get over it." I'm like, okay. God, this all happened such a long time ago. Almost 10 years ago. So I finished all my paperwork, and then on the weekends, like once a month, I would go to RSP. So basically, RSP stands for Recruit Sustainment Program, and that's just for soldiers who haven't gone to basic training yet. But RSP is just a way to prepare us for basic training. And it's kind of like the active duty guys. Before they join, I think they have this program called Future Soldier or something like that. So pretty similar program. And so they give us our uniforms, and these uniforms are pretty nice because the ones that we get in basic training, like the sleeves and stuff at the very end of your cuffs, at the end of your sleeves, those are buttons. And what else? Oh yeah, and the side pockets on our pants, those were buttons too. But the ones that we got at RSP, they were all Velcro, so they were very easy to put on and adjust. So we got all of our uniforms, and then they gave me a date for when I would start going to RSP. And I was so damn nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And then I also had to take my first Army physical fitness test just to see where I was at. And then, so I first got there, and then we did all that. I didn't know what to do. Like, we were lining up to go grab lunch inside of the armory, and you have to line up, and then you have to pivot your feet to turn. Like, it's like the line was in like the shape of a U, and when you get to the bend, you have to pivot to your left and then pivot again with your feet. So like, God, how do I forgot what it is. But anyways, my marching movements were completely wrong. I thought I was so cool. Completely fucked it up. So did RSP for a few months, and then I left for basic training on July 15th, 2013, right after graduating high school. So I joined February 27th. And then when you join, you have to go to MEPS, and you have to get like your asshole examined. Like, no bullshit. So you have to get your butt crack or your butthole examined to make sure that you don't have I forgot what the heck those things are called in your butt, but it makes you like, it's like those sores that make you bleed and stuff. I don't know. But it's basically just medical processing at MEPS to make sure that you're physically fit enough to join the military. So then you do go to MEPS, and then I left. And I knew that I was going to be homesick. My family did a whole like Hopley thing, right? Oh no, it was a Kite. I think it was like a Kite ceremony. I completely forgot. But it was like a going away party in a way. And my uncle, he actually he like foretold the future and said that he's gonna be really, really homesick. And he was right. During my time there, I was really, really homesick. I miss my family a lot. So I leave, and I'm at the airport. My parents are there. I don't know if I can't remember if all of my siblings were there. A couple of my grandmas were there. My dad's mom, and then I had a distant grandmother that was there, and she cried as I left. Kind of sad, but I told everybody not to worry, and that I would be back in 5 months. So I get on the plane, I'm like, damn. And I actually left with my with one of my friends too. So we joined together, and we went to basic training together. So we both got on the plane. I'm like, shit, I can't believe we're really doing this. So we fly to O'Hare International Airport in Illinois, and I think it's also Chicago, right? It's in Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, O'Hare. Get to O'Hare, and then our layover was like a couple hours, I think, and then we got something to eat inside the airport, and then we're gonna go wait for our next flight and get on our flight, and then I went straight to Missouri. So where did we land in Missouri? I don't even remember. Probably their international airport there. Oh man, it's like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember the city. Whatever. I'm not gonna spend more time trying to remember than I have to. So we got to the airport in Missouri, and at that airport there was a USO. So a USO is basically just a place that caters to like the troops and stuff like that. They have video games there. I think they had like food and snacks and drinks. And so we went to the USO, and we waited to get picked up by a bus that would take us to reception. So waited, and then we got called up to line up and get on the bus. So everybody just grabbed all their shit and got off of their seats, and we lined up outside of the USO. I remember there were so many people there, and this one guy, he looked like he was on a business trip of some sort, and he was walking past us with, I can't really describe the look in his eyes, but I guess you could say it was a look of gratitude, because he was walking past us carrying a suitcase, and he said to us, "Thanks, kids, for basically signing our lives away." So that stuck with me ever since that happened. Just being so grateful for everything that the troops do for this country, and the amount of willpower and courage it takes to really sign up and join the military. Not a lot of people can say that. That's why only 1% of us can say that we raised our right hand and read the oath of enlistment. So we're led to the bus, and we get on there, and my friend and I are like, "Shit, this is really happening. We're going to basic training now." So they drive us to Fort Leonard Wood. On the way there, we saw the Golden Arch in Missouri. St. Louis, that's where we landed. St. Louis, Missouri. So we drove past the Golden Arch, whatever you want to call it, in St. Louis. I forgot how long the drive was, but it might have been like a couple hours or something. So we get to Fort Leonard Wood. We also call it Fort Lost in the Woods. And we get to reception, and then they tell us to get off the bus. So, man, how did this even go? It's been so long, I can't remember. But anyway, so like reception, we spend a whole week there. And it's basically it's week 0. And it's in processing. And you basically do like all of your paperwork there. You get all of your shots. I got like 5 or 6 shots. And yeah, my arms are pretty sore. And then that's where you get the famous peanut butter shot in your ass. So this was the funniest thing ever. They took us to a room to get the peanut butter shot, and they lined us up against the wall. So all 4 walls were just covered with dudes. They're like, "All right, pull your pants down to your knees, put your hands on the wall, and lean over." And they go down the line just one by one, giving us the peanut butter shot. And it was the funniest thing ever, because as you're waiting for your shot, there's a bunch of dudes to your right or to your left, and all you hear them is just groaning one by one until the groaning gets louder and louder and louder until the dude next to you groans too in pain. And then it's your turn. I'm like, fuck. So I got the shot. That was the most painful shot I've ever had in my life. It felt like like they call it a peanut butter shot because it literally feels like they're shooting peanut butter into your ass cheek. I could literally feel the fluids that they were shooting into my ass crack, or not really my ass crack, but that's kind of messed up, into my ass cheek. I could feel the fluids like tearing apart my ass tissue. That shit hurt, and everybody had a blood stain on their on their underwear. And I had a pretty big blood stain. And nope, they don't bandage it up or anything, no Band-Aid. So that was fun. And then, yeah, basically do your paperwork, like who do you want to be your beneficiary should you die, and stuff like that. So we stayed there for a week, and then we got picked up again by a few more buses. So that's when basic training really started. They picked us up. Our drill sergeants were there. And of course, they're yelling at you to hurry up, line up, and then to get on the bus. They drive you to where you're going to be staying for the next few months. It was in the middle of summer, and it was really hot. Hotter than what I was used to, because I'm from Wisconsin, and going to Missouri, a little down south, I wasn't quite used to that kind of heat yet. So we get driven over to our barracks, and then they open the doors. Drill sergeant, he's like, "All right, everybody, get off my bus, get off, hurry up, hurry up." And then we all have to line up. We all have to line up in specific places. And our bags and stuff that we carry with us, so we had a black bag and a green bag, and they're fucking huge. And you have all your stuff in there. So then we have like colored tags on those bags because we were all assigned to a platoon. So I was in first platoon, so my tag was blue. I think it was a piece of tape actually. So that was blue. Some guys were white, some guys were red. So second platoon was red, and then third platoon was white. So when we got off the bus, we knew where to go, and then the drill sergeant just knew like where to put us according to the color of the tape that was on our bags. So we all line up, and so you do it like a shakedown, and and we also call this a shark attack. So a shark attack is also like a famous part of basic training, and So shakedown is basically they tell you to take out all your stuff out of your bags and dump it all on the ground. And then it sucks because all your stuff gets mixed up with the guy to your right and left of you. So you have to make sure that you grab the right stuff when you like pick it back up. So there was a drill sergeant on the podium, small little Asian drill sergeant, and he tells us to like he'll go through a list. Like, all right, green socks, you should have this many pairs. Lift them up so we can see them. So drill sergeants will go down the line and they'll check to make sure that you have all the stuff that you were issued. All right, next thing on the list, make sure. I think we had 3 pairs of boots, 2 summer boots and 1 winter boot. 2 summer boots, hold them up. So we held them up. Oh, also including the ones that you wear. So maybe it was like so we had to hold up the winter one and the summer one. And so they just keep doing that until they know that everybody has all their stuff that they're supposed to have. Because it would suck if you're missing stuff. So they want to make sure that you have all your stuff. It was so hot and like people pass out all the time during the heat in basic training. And they call you a heat cat. And that's just short for heat casualty. So to avoid having a heat cat, they had coolers with water and ice, and they would tell us to run to the coolers in like 15-minute increments or something like that. They're like, all right, put your arms in there and go all the way down to your shoulders. It was so freaking cold, guys, but at the same time it felt so good because it was so hot. So you get on your knees and you dip your arms all the way down into the water until it gets to your shoulders. You get up, you run, and then they tell you to raise your arms. So the reason why they tell you to raise your arms is because they want the cold water to drip down to your body so it cools you off even more. So that was a pretty cool thing that they had us do, and wanting us to die out in the heat. So after that, then basic training really begins. So oh dude, another thing to mention about shark attack is that they tell us to line up all of our bags as straight as possible. So they call that dress right dress. So your stuff has to look exactly like the guy to your right, or to your left, I should say. And they're like, they'll do a countdown, and obviously they know that you're gonna fail. And we all tried. So this was like really the first time that we ever had to do some sort of teamwork together. And so you and like the guy to your left and right, you're like, all right, let's get our back straight. Oh shit, that guy, like five guys down, his back's crooked, we gotta go fix it. So we're all helping each other, trying to get our bags as straight as possible. And when I say straight, I mean like your bags have to be lined up perfectly straight, linear, like no bends or anything, no up bags sticking out too far or too far back. It's got to be perfect. There's no room for error. So drill sergeants knew that we would fuck that up, and They count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, stop. And drill sergeant said, "You guys failed to meet our expectations." And then that's when we got our first smoke session. So getting smoked is basically just how would you say it? What kind of discipline is it? What is it called when they make you do like physical workouts as a punishment? What? Corrective training. So I think they would just call it like corrective training or whatever. So we got smoked half right face. Your heels are together, half right face. You just kind of turn to your right at like a 30 or 45 degree angle. And then you get in the push-up position and you do push-ups. They made us do 5 push-ups, and those were the hardest 5 push-ups of my entire life. You know what they made us do? They'll go 1, and that's when you go down to the ground, and you can't rest on the ground. You have to hold yourself up. And they made us hold it for like the longest time. And then they'll say up, and then we go 1 drill sergeant, down, and then they said something like move to the left. So we had to like shift our bodies to the left as we were down in the push-up position, and then they'll say right, and then we have to shift our bodies to the right. Longest 5 push-ups ever, and the hardest 5 push-ups you will ever do in your life. I guarantee it. And so we did that. And so that was the beginning of red phase. So there's 3 phases in basic training: red, white, and blue. So red phase are the first 3 weeks. And what happens during those first 3 weeks is they teach you the core Army values, and then you also take like your initial physical fitness test just to evaluate where you are physically. And then they also teach you about the history of the United States Army, just like and then also like the basics of like marching, drill, and ceremony. Make sure that everyone's marching correctly. And then we're also taught like the basic care of our rifles, the M4. And we also do CBRN training. So CBRN is short for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. And so with CBRN training, that's when we went to the famous gas chamber. That was fun. So the gas chamber, so they use CS gas on us. So we all line up next to the gas chamber, and then they open the door, and they like tell us to go inside. And at this point, we have our gas masks on. Immediately when you walk in there, you can feel the CS gas burning your skin. Anything that wasn't covered, like our hands, our heads, and like our necks, immediate burning. And we line up against the wall, and they make you check like your seal to make sure that it's sealed properly. And then they'll make you do like jumping jacks and some other exercises like jogging in place. Then the fun part happens. They tell us to take off our mask. And you just breathe that stuff in. It is so spicy. Everyone was like spitting and coughing and crying. Maybe some people threw up in there. I know back in the day, like in the 90s and early 2000s, the CS gas that they used was really, really strong. Way stronger than anything that we ever got. So they'll go down the line, and drill sergeants will ask us, recite the soldier's creed, or recite your social security number, or date of birth, rank, and last 4 of your social, and stuff like that. And you're just like, private, Bao Zhang, and whatever. That sounded like shit when I was trying to talk. So after making us suffer for a few minutes, they tell us to put our masks back on. And they tell us to make sure that we seal it properly. And you'll know if you didn't seal your mask properly, because those masks, they work. And if you don't seal it correctly, you will you will continue to cough. Okay, so good thing mine was sealed properly. So, and then I think they make you take it back off, right? And then, because I think we exited the gas chamber without our masks on. And they tell you to flap your arms like a bird when you get out of the chamber to get rid of any excess CS gas that may still be on your uniform or on your skin. I coughed so hard that I almost threw up, but I held it in because I didn't want to be the only guy who puked. So that was fun. And then we got back to like the tent where they had like jugs of water, and then people were like washing out their eyes and their hands and their necks and stuff like that. And others even contemplated going back into the gas chamber, but I don't think that they would let us anyways. So then after we do that, we go to white phase. Shooting guns. So white phase is always like the fun part because we get to shoot. The only thing that sucks about shooting guns is you have to clean your guns after. So this part of white phase is called BRM, and that stands for Basic Rifle Marksmanship. So they teach you how to zero a rifle, and also, again, really continue training on how to take care of it, how to clean it, all the different parts and components of your rifle, and what every single part does, and the names of it. So, and then we also learn how to like zero a rifle, just like making sure that it shoots straight. So we just like adjust this, like the front sight post and like the rear sight aperture and stuff like that at the shooting range. And then we do qualification. So we have to shoot 40 targets, and if you shoot 40 out of 40, that's a perfect score, and that you get an expert badge. So I think anywhere from like 36 to 40 is you get an expert badge, and then like 30 to 35 or something, whatever, is like the I forgot what the other badges are called, but you get different badges. So like there's like the low one, the middle one, and then the high one, the good one that everyone wants. So we qualify, and then we did have a few people who just couldn't shoot at all. And like if you can't shoot at all, you will get kicked out of the military. Because obviously, why would you be in the military if you can't shoot? There were some people who tried to get kicked out of the military by purposely failing the qualifying part of BRM. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna quit, just say it. But nobody wants to quit because then, like in the open, because you'll just get yelled at by the drill sergeants. So rather than getting yelled at, you'll just fail and fail and fail to qualify at shooting a rifle, and then they'll just chapter you out for, I think, chapter 11 or something, for failure to adapt. So you get chaptered out of the military. So other things that we did in white phase was, I think that's when we started hand-to-hand combat. And then we also did land navigation. So land navigation, that freaking sucked. I mean, it was easy, but then it was just, like, it just sucked. You know, walking in the middle of nowhere, going up like ridges and hills and stuff like that over and over again just to find your points on your map. But so you have to pass land navigation to pass basic training. And then we also did our field training exercise, and for short we just call that Ep.6. So a field training exercise, basically just go out in the field and you do training exercises. Pretty self-explanatory. So we sleep in like our tents and stuff like that. During the warmer months, we each sleep. Did we get our own tents? Shit, I don't even remember anymore. I don't think so. Maybe not. No, I think we did. Either we slept in our own tents or like we dug fighting positions and we slept in like our sleeping bags and stuff like that. But in the colder months, we slept in these giant tents all together with heaters or like pellet stoves The ones with the heaters were nice, but then our platoon had a pellet stove in our tent, and it sucked because it was really smoky, and everybody was crying all night because the smoke was so strong. But you're so tired, you just kind of sleep through it anyways. So that brings us to Blue Phase, the final 3 weeks of basic training. So we do ARM, Advanced Rifle Marksmanship. So in ARM, we actually use laser sights. And so we learn how to zero our laser sights and stuff like that. And then we also do more like a drill and ceremony, and then we also compete with each other to get a banner on our platoon flag. So we compete with the other two platoons. The first class that I went through, we didn't get a DNC banner on our platoon flag, but the second cycle that I went through, we did. We won in my second cycle. First platoon won pretty much almost every single banner there was to win. So we were always competing for something just to get bragging rights. We got like the honor platoon banner, the APFT banner, and the DNC banner, and like one or two others. So you guys are probably wondering like what I mean when I say like the first cycle that I went through and the second cycle that I went through. So I actually didn't graduate basic training my first time because I got injured. So I actually had a stress fracture on my third right metatarsal toe. And when we took our final PT test, I didn't pass because I was limping throughout the very beginning of... No, actually, I think it was the fitness test that was right before the final one. Yeah, it was. And I was limping pretty bad at the very start of the 2-mile run, and my drill sergeant saw this. And after the fitness test, he told me, he's like, you need to go to sick call and get that checked out. So I did, and then they did an x-ray, and I found out I had a stress fracture. So that's why I was limping. And you know what, guys? I ruck marched. What did we do? Like a 10 kilometer? we rucked like a 10 kilometer in white phase for FTX. Oh no, for blue phase. And I walked with a stress fracture, and I didn't even know it. Like I'm just like, okay, my foot hurts, but I'm just gonna keep doing this, and I did it. Eventually, it just went numb, like after the first third of the ruck march. So, yeah, and then blue phase, we do another FTX, and then we do our final Army physical fitness test. And if you can't pass this, then you don't graduate basic training. So at the time, for my age group, from 17 to 21 years old, for your push-ups, I think you had to get like 40 something push-ups. And then sit-ups, you had to get like 56. Man, I don't remember anymore. Like 56 sit-ups or something. And then your 2-mile run, you had to run it in 15 minutes and 54 seconds or faster. I ran mine in 15 minutes and 29 seconds. That, for me, that's like barely making it. But yeah, so I passed my physical fitness test during the second cycle. So yeah, with that said, with my injury, the first cycle graduated, and then I had to stay behind. And then I had to wait for a second cycle to come through. So it was like a new class, new people. I had to get to know everybody all over again. And then I did like physical therapy for my foot. And then once I got better, I started to train with the new cycle, and I pretty much just picked up where I left off. And I graduated with the second cycle. So that's all cool. And then we do like what do we do? So like at the end of blue phase, we do this thing called Nick at Night. So Nick at Night stands for Night Infiltration Course. That was super fun. We had to infiltrate, obviously, of course. And we had to We had to low crawl under barbed wire in like sand for I don't know how far, but it was so tiring. Like I can't even explain how tiring it is to low crawl that far that long. But they're also shooting like live rounds at us above our heads. So they're shooting real like real bullets at us. So it's to let you know to stay the hell down. But they were shooting it so high that it would never hit you anyways. But you get the point. And then we infiltrate a course, and then we shoot at targets with like blank rounds, but clear buildings, do a bunch of other cool shit, and then we do a graduation ceremony. We went to like these giant ass bonfire that they had set up for us, and we toasted a drink. I think it was just soda. So we toasted a drink to the ones who have fallen on the battlefield. And guys, having soda or juice or whatever the heck it was that they gave us was such a treat because we only had that luxury on the weekends, you know. Well, actually, shit, I lied. In the DFAC, we actually have like juice and stuff. So yeah, I lied. But anyways, it was nice to get juice after a long day of infiltrating on a course at night. So then we go to AIT, which is the Advanced Individual Training. So I signed up to be a 12 Bravo combat engineer. And basically what combat engineers do, how can I put it in the best way? We blow shit up. We learn how to make explosives, and then we just blow a bunch of stuff up in many different ways, many different forms, and for various different reasons. So the first phase in AIT is black phase, and that's when we do like our combat engineer training, and that's like the actual job that you're going to be doing in the army. So we do that, and that was like, how long was that? Black phase was like 4 weeks. Yeah, I think it was like 4 weeks. So like combat engineer training is not long at all. I think it was 5 weeks in total. And like other jobs, they could be like a few months to maybe even longer. Just really depends. But ours are like only 4 or 5 weeks. So then that brings us to gold phase. You know, once you pass your testing in black phase, you pass all your tests, then you can go to gold phase. And gold phase is basically just a week of doing a bunch of cleaning and getting ready to turn in all of your stuff. And it was super laid back too. So yeah, we watched movies all day long for a whole entire week. And while we're watching movies, we would just clean like our guns and like clean our like uniforms and stuff like that. And then we had to like go outside and clean the tents and stuff too. So that was like super fun. Just being able to relax like that for such a long time. It was something that we all looked forward to for so long. You know, you're working day in and day out, and the only days that you really get off is well, of course, I mean, we get the weekends, but then even on the weekends we're still working too. So if you ain't going to church on Sunday, you're going to be cleaning the barracks all day. Funny thing, on Sundays I actually went to church so I could sleep at church. Isn't that funny, guys? I went to church just so I can sleep. Because you don't get in trouble for falling asleep at church. But if you fall asleep and you didn't go to church, like if you fall asleep in the barracks, you're gonna get your ass chewed out. So yeah, so then after gold phase, we do graduation. So my sister and my mom and my dad came to visit me, and we did we had like a really cool graduation ceremony. And it's pretty cool for like civilians to see soldiers marching like that for the first time. For a lot of them, it was their first time. And my sister recorded the whole thing. And you can find it on my Facebook if you have me on Facebook. But the video of us marching to the theater where we were going to do the graduation ceremony, that was pretty cool to see that. Like we were all in our dress blues. We also call them our class A's. That's like our formal uniforms that we have. So I graduated, and it kind of sucks not being able to see everyone graduate. A lot of people quit along the way, and the military is not really for everybody. If it was, then everybody would do it, but it's not. And sometimes you really don't realize that the military is not for you until you go in and you try it. So I try not to give people too much grief for quitting, but at least they tried, and that's what counts. But a lot of the people who quit, they were just like pieces of shits too. They were like lazy, didn't want to put in the work. So it's like, just understand what you're signing up for. Came back home, and then I went straight to my unit. Excuse me. Let me drink some water. So I went to my unit, and then did my 6 years of my contract, and did 2 years of my reserve training. And my reserve training's up now. Actually, I think it was I got out? Yeah, last year was my last year of my reserve duty. So I'm officially out, guys. I'm officially a civilian now. That brings us to the conclusion of the Let's Slam podcast. I know I was kind of like all over the place. I didn't really have like a really well put together script. And this happened so long ago that like new memories just kept popping up back and forth. So that's why I kind of went back to like talking about something that I talked about like 5 minutes ago, because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember now. So I do apologize, guys. So, all right, thanks, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for my subscribers. You guys are awesome, and I hope you guys continue to keep tuning in onto the Let's Slam podcast. I will see you guys again next week. See ya.